We will be establishing a CEF in Canada, if that helps.
Yes, we like it.
All right, can everyone see the board? All right, before we start, if you can, take your phones out. If you have not RSVP'd for today's event, please RSVP by scanning that QR code. And then once you scan it, it will take you to a form or a website. You'll click on this church, our church, the college application or college admission workshop, and then it'll tell you to register, and you'll just have a form to fill out. That will add you to the database. That way we have your info when we email events or let you know about any upcoming programs. So I'll give you about 2 minutes to do that, please. Awesome. Okay. Just raise your hand. If I can go I'm going to go around the room to kind of get a sense of who's in the room as far as your grade. If you're a parent, if you're a mentor, or it's not mentor, if you're a 12th grader or a high school in general, or if you're middle school. So raise your hand if you're middle school. 6th grade, 7th, and 8th. Okay, good. What about 9th grade? 10th, 11th, and seniors. Oh, wow. Okay, and then I'm assuming all of you are parents or servants. Okay, well, this is a great group to have. This is like the most diverse group I've supported. So thank you for being here. This is scheduled for 90 minutes, so I'm going to try to cater it to all of you. I don't want to go for the full 90 minutes. I want to hear from you and answer your questions because I'll try to cater as much as I can to the group that's in the room today. But to kind of get started, my name is Sandy Gabriel from the CEF. I'm their Assistant Director Counselor. A little bit about me. I went to Cal State Fullerton back in 2015. I got my major in psychology, my bachelor's degree in psychology, minor in human services, and then I went to USC to get my master's in educational counseling. And then I've been working in education since then. Right now, I work for Pepperdine University with their Graduate School of Psychology. I'm their academic or senior academic advisor and an adjunct faculty member, so I teach a graduate class there. And I also am with CEF. So that's a little bit about me. I like to kind of talk about my journey a little bit so you know where I stand. But today, really, we're going to be going over a few things. I want to talk briefly about CEF because I don't know if a lot of you know. Who knows what CEF is? Let's start there. So I'll talk about CEF. Then we'll talk about the different pathways to college as far as, where do you want to go and what are the requirements for each type of school. Then we'll talk about your financial aid and scholarships and what that looks like. For some of you, it might be too early, so I'll take a break before I do that, and that way, if you want to leave, you can, because it's going to be a lot of information that's too early for you to know. So for the middle school students, you're free to go after we talk about the college application. And then we'll have the Q&A just to kind of answer any questions you have. But before I do that, I kind of want to get a sense of what support do you all need as of now? What questions do you have that you need answered today? So just kind of give me things that you really need to know today, or things that you're looking forward to hear about today. Yeah.
Is there anything right now that we can do to benefit us in the future when we look for college?
Okay, what you can do now, awesome.
Basically, what you can do to get the scholarship, what kind of programs you need to be yourself into, how to volunteer, what grades minimum you should have,
Mm-hmm.
that.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely go over all that. Awesome. What else? Yes.
Am I applying for scholarships as of right now?
Good question. No, but you can work on creating your profile to be prepared for their type of requirements, because there's different types of scholarships. So yes, but good question. Yes. You can pick as many as you'd like, actually. There's no limit as how many colleges you apply for. It's all about if you can afford it, because every application has a fee. There's obviously certain brackets. If you meet them, you might get those application fees waived, depending on your income and your household size. But of course, there's no limit. We would never tell you, oh, you only have these amount to apply for. That's a good question. Any other questions you need answered? So all of you are just kind of going with the flow. Okay. So the CF services, as you see, we have different types that are catered for each population. So you have your middle school support, your high school, and then your college students and beyond. So for the middle school students, we help them for any type of guidance to college and what to prepare for in middle school. There's something called homework help. We partnered with Revolution Prep. They will help you with your homework in a sense where it's not tutoring, but it's more like if you're struggling with a math problem or understanding a concept, they can assist you with that. It's a $200 membership for the whole year, and you're able to get that unlimited help by someone personally from their organization. So it's actually K through 12. If you need that, let me know. Again, you can connect with me afterwards, or I can give you my card. I can connect you with someone. Sorry? Oh, go ahead. Oh, you used it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But when we need help from my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
he asked us to schedule appointment.
Sure.
When you schedule appointment, she should submit her homework for second day. She doesn't have time.
Oh, you want an immediate assistance type of thing? I see.
She needs to have the meeting
Ah,
same day.
yeah. That's a good one. So I don't know what the response time is, but I also don't think that it would be immediate. And I'm so sorry that you went through that experience. I'll tell Sharif that. But we have to revisit our partnership to see if it's immediate assistance or it takes 1 or 2 business days. So thank you for that.
Here, we should submit her homework.
The next day, right? Yeah. So, and what grade was this?
She was in 8th grade.
8th grade. Okay. Okay. We will definitely look into that. So that's Revolution Prep, that's the homework help. And then you have the support for the newcomers and undocumented students who need that support. Special education is another one that our board member, Delia Mikhail, helps with that process and helping the parents understand what the special needs would be for their students if they have someone who needs that support. And then you have your high school. So high school, there's endless support, honestly, between Catherine and I, another counselor. We go over pretty much everything that contains the college application process with the personal statement writing, your extracurricular activities, and all that good stuff. We assist with that. The most important thing to know for high school students, it's the Merit Achievement Scholarship. For those of you who are leaving or graduating from high school, going to a 4-year or transferring from a community college to a 4-year, you would be eligible for the scholarship, and we give $1,000 towards those who qualify and, of course, are eligible and receive it. There were 20 students. I mean, every year we select 20 students, but from that last year to this year, we had a double in our application. So it doubled from 50 applicants, we had 100, and we only select 20. So it's getting really competitive every year across all the dioceses. So please, if you know someone who's doing very well academically, meaning their GPA is really high, their community involvement is also pretty in-depth, and they're giving back to their community, but mainly really it's their academic performance is what we look at because it's the main part of the scoring process. And then, of course, there's 2 essays that they submit. So that's the Merit Achievement Scholarship. And then, of course, college support. Since we don't have any college people here, I won't go through it. But if you do have any students in college that need to find internships or find a job, yeah. We'll talk about that. I'm just talking about the services, just an overview of CEF, really. Yeah. And then the scholarships that we offer for college students. So if you have questions about that, please come to us. And this is the staff members here. Catherine, Amani, myself, and Hani. And then Sharif is the founder. Okay, I'm gonna skip through this. All right. So I'm going to go into the pathways of college and college application process, and really what are your options going into that process. So as you look on the board, it's kind of split by grade. So if you are a 9th grader now, or a 10th grade or whatnot, you'll see what you need to do. Is there anything on the board that you see that you haven't done yet? If so, get to it. If it's something that you need to work on, or maybe you have done it but it's not how you want it to be, please get it done, because it's going to be important to at least have the bare minimum of these done. When I say bare minimum, if it says, oh, you should look into, let's see here, 11th grade, it says tour the campus. If you haven't done so and you're a junior, you're already behind. I'm not saying any of this stuff to scare you. I'm just telling you, you need to know what you're signing up for and the schools that you really want to go to. Because what if you end up getting accepted to all the schools that you applied for? Then what? You still have to go to the school to figure out where you want to go. Maybe it'll be based on financial aid, but it'll also be based on how you feel going to that school as a student, physically. So please remember, the most important thing when you're looking to find the right school for you, if it feels right and if it makes sense. And I will talk about what that looks like as far as fit. Questions on the timeline? Yes. Confirm A through G. So that's the A through G requirements. We'll talk about it in a bit. But those are the set of classes that you have to take to be eligible to graduate from high school. And we'll talk about what those look like. But that's a great question. So the pathways to college, all of you know, there's so many ways to go to a four-year college, yes? Right? There's a community college, there's a UCI, the UCLA, the Cal State Long Beach, the Cal State Northridge. Those are all schools, types of schools, right? Different tuition, different experience, different student population. So when we say you have different routes, you do have different options, different pathways. How many of you want to go, well, let's say this. Tell me your dream school. Give me, just yell them out. Where would you want to go to school? Maybe from your friends, or what about your siblings? What schools do they go to? Riverside, UC Riverside. Harvard. UCLA. What else? UC San Diego. What about a Cal State? Any Cal States? Fresno State. So the reason why I ask this, because there's different types, and we'll talk about what they look like, what they are, and what the requirements are. But if you look on the board, you have the CHESP route. Anyone know what the CHESP is? I'm so happy you don't know what the CHESP is, because everyone's doing it right now, and I don't want everybody to be doing it just because they're doing it. So CHESP is a route, and we'll talk about what CHESP is. Then there's the community college route, the traditional route. Well, not traditional, but the most common route. Then you have your high school to 4-year. That's the traditional route, going from high school straight to a 4-year. Or, the transfer process, like we said, the community college, going from a 2-year at a community college and then going to a 4-year. When you go to a 4-year, now you have the option between a private or a public, right? So the ones that we just talked about, the UCs, the Cal States, those are all public technically. But if you're looking at Harvard, that's a private. Private, and it's also an Ivy League. Not all the privates are Ivy Leagues. When I say Ivy League, meaning it's a top 25 school. It's the elite, one of the elite institutions. They have higher requirements, they have more funding, more research that's conducted on their campus and whatnot. So, and they're definitely more expensive as far as tuition. So those are Ivy Leagues. Then you have the different types of privates, like USC, that's private, but they're not an Ivy League. You have Brown. So those are different types of privates, or Stanford is another one. And then your publics, those are all the California schools that are around locally at least. So you have the UCs, UCI, UCLA, UC Merced, and then Cal States, you have, Cal State Long Beach, and we'll talk about that too in a bit. But I just wanted to give you kind of a heads up what the pathways are. So I spoke about earlier is the CHESP. CHESP right now is one of the routes, unfortunately. A lot of our students are finishing sophomore year, and then if they are qualified, they can take the English and math assessment, and if they pass, they take something that's equivalent to a diploma, which is GED. Once they do that, they go to a community college for 2 years, transfer out of the community college, and go straight to a 4-year. So they save themselves 2 years in high school. A lot of people do that. I don't recommend it unless you are a stellar student, because you are taking someone at a sophomore level academic, performance level and pushing them to do a college level class at a community college. So it gets pretty overwhelming for that student. So I've seen a lot of people do that route and then go and perform poorly in community college because they did that. So there's no rush to go through high school. You should go through as a regular student and then, transfer out, or why not graduate into a 4-year. So I don't recommend it, but if you want to talk about it, we can definitely talk about it later on. All right. So these are the basic college requirements. It's not particular to any institution, but these are the general qualifications. It's not specifically for a specific school. So your personal qualities over your academic qualities. Just to give you an overview, a personal quality can be a letter of rec or a personal statement. Do you guys know what those are? So personal statement is also an essay. Do you know what essays are? So when I'm going to college, they're going to ask me for a lot of things to submit. One of them is an essay, which is also called a personal statement. And they'll also ask me to submit my transcripts, which will have all my grades. They'll ask me sometimes maybe to submit my resume. Do you know what a resume is? So a resume is all the things that you've been doing, whether it's paid or not paid, any activities you've been part of. You can put that in a list, and that becomes your professional resume. So those are your personal qualities. And then you have your academic qualities. Those are going to go in detail with your A through G requirements that you've done, any of your honors classes, any of your AP courses that you've taken. Those are going to be heavily assessed for your academic qualities. So you asked earlier about A through G, right? So these are the lists of classes that are the minimum to graduate from any high school. So you have 2 years in high school for history or social science. You need 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 2 years of science. One is physical, one is like a bio. And language, it should be 2 years required. You have an arts is 1 year, and an elective is 1 year. These are the minimum requirements though. So if I say do 2 years of history, guess what? I want you to do 4 years. And not just 4 years, but I also want you to do an AP class or an honors class. If I ask you to do, if it says here, 3 years of math, how many will you do? 4. You'll do 4 years of math, and I want you to do above and beyond that. Maybe even start early in middle school. Go and do Algebra 1, 8th grade. So you already have that done going into high school. Then you don't have to do that as a freshman. You go straight into geometry, and then Algebra 2, and then stats, and then pre-cal. So always advance yourself. Try to figure out how to start early than later. So that's the A through G requirements. Again, that's the minimum requirements. When you are evaluated as a student, from a counselor's perspective, you will be evaluated based on your high school profile at that school that you're going to from someone else that's going there. So they'll never compete. You're never competing with someone going to a different high school. You're competing actually with the students going to the same high school. So how many of you are going to the same high school? Great. Y'all are competing with one another. If you're applying the same year, you're going to be competing with one another. If not, you're good. You're fine. So you're going to have to find a way to stand out in your high school. When I say that, mean number-wise. So if they're offering, let's say, 10 AP classes, and you took one, that's not enough. You'll want to take at least 50%. Or, 50% is high, but it depends on how many they're offering. Because what they do is they say, okay, the student had all these resources, but they didn't take advantage of them. But I have another student who has the same resources offered to them, and they took advantage of all of them. Who are they going to take? The person who has at the same high school. So you have to at least do better than the person at your high school to be better than someone else. Does that make sense? So hopefully you go back today and figure out what you're doing. And I'm gonna give you an assignment at the end of the day, so you don't feel like overwhelmed. The one thing to take from this, after COVID, there has been an emphasis in your personal qualities, meaning I want to know what you've done during this year, academically or outside of the academics. Because they took out now the SAT and ACT, they're not going to look at those scores. So now they want to see your activities that you've done, your GPA, how many AP or honors classes you've taken, and then potentially any other special accomplishments that you've done. So keep in mind, there's going to be a huge emphasis on what else can you offer. So how many of you have done something outside of your comfort zone the past year? Being stuck during the pandemic. I won't tell you, I'm not going to ask what it is, but I want you to challenge yourself to think outside of the box. I love that you're coming to church every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Awesome. You're doing something for God. Awesome. But find something within that community that makes you unique. So I always tell people from any church I go to, I've been going to church now every Sunday, different church, and I tell them, find a problem in your church, within your youth, or something that's going on, some problem, an issue. I'm sure you have something going on. Every church has it. Within the youth. So I'll give you an example. A woman came to me. She was, I think, a 10th or 11th grade. And from your church, but not this church, but from a church, a Coptic church, she said, we have an issue with the girls, the youth, talking behind one another and kind of creating tension and drama. It's been happening for quite a while now. And it's not the best community she wants to be part of. So she saw that as an issue. She said, okay, well, how can I change this dynamic between all the women in the church? I was like, well, that's something you should figure out, step out of your comfort zone. So she said, she created a FaceTime session with like 2 or 3 of her friends at first. And it was like a 9 o'clock every day at 9 o'clock. They met and they opened the Bible and they kind of discussed a book and they just spoke. But it was more of a Bible study, but it became now a social thing too. Like they were able to speak freely to one another, but God was in the midst of them, right? So this woman, whoever she was, she made this a weekly thing, now became a daily thing. The girls want to talk to each other, and that became the support system. And now all the women are getting way better along. So that is a small little example of something that she did to better her community and make a difference. And it was effortless. She had to just make a phone call for like 20 minutes and became an hour and whatnot. So find a problem in your church, whatever that looks like, and do something about it as a leader and form a committee. And if you need a parent to support you, totally do that. So this is the question we were talking about earlier, the SAT versus ACT. Please know that it's going to be suspended for the Cal States at least. They're not even going to look at it. So if you submit it, they're not going to look at your score at all. But the UCs, they're saying it's optional, so please take it and submit it, even if you don't like your score, because that just shows that you went above and beyond to take the exam and submit a score, even if it's optional. The privates are the same way. The only people that will never want it are the Cal States. They're not going to ask for it or look for it. So the biggest difference between both exams, if you're still considering to take them, is how they score them and the subjects. So your subjects for the SAT with the S is English and math and an essay. But your ACT with an A is going to be English, math, and science, and of course your essay. So if you are good in science, take the ACT, and if you're going to major in pre-med of some sort, or any type of bio, take the ACT so you can show them that you're doing well, or you want to challenge yourself in the science aspect. So it gives you that boost if you're looking into that pre-med option. And then as far as the scoring, one is out of 1,600 and one is out of 36. Just know it doesn't really matter as far as the difference in scores. But generally for the SAT, I don't want to give you a specific score that's, this is where you should be at. The reason why we don't give you an actual score, because when you are reviewed, it's not just, if they only have 1,100, we're not going to take them. It doesn't work that way. It's looked at throughout the whole process, more of a holistic approach. So if I'm looking at your application from the UCs or from the Common App, the privates, I'm going to look at your transcripts, your essays, your extracurricular activities, maybe your SAT and ACT, and then any personal things that you shared. That's going to compose your application, not just numbers. At the Cal States, majority of them are going to look at numbers. There's a cutoff typically for what that number looks like for them. So just know that will help you if you're applying for the UCs or the privates. Okay. I think you had asked about this earlier, how to get involved. So these are different ways to get involved in your community, right? You have internships, you can work. If you're still young, you can't work, and you're still trying to understand how to get involved or what career paths to look into, my biggest advice to you is to speak to someone who's already doing the job, maybe a doctor, whatever you want to be. If they're doing it, shadow them, interview them for 45 minutes. You'd be like, hey, I just want to see what you do. Maybe visit your office to see how you function, what your role is, kind of get a visual understanding of what they do. And it's a more applied knowledge that you can gain from now. So that's what I did going through high school and colleges. I went and asked people like what they were doing and had hands-on experience. So that's one thing to do if you can't be employed. Or if you want to have like an informational interview, you can ask a bunch of questions to that person. It could be even your parents if they're doing something that you want to do. If you can work, I would do it right away. I would find an internship within your district or within your school. It doesn't have to be paid. If you even want to just gain leadership skills, then go find an actual job. You know, my brother, he's 5 years younger than me. Ever since high school, he's been working, and he's now doing great things. So it starts young, but you develop those leadership skills really quickly, and you become independent pretty fast. So once you start, you won't stop. You'll want to continue to exceed and excel expectations. So please start young if you have the option to work. Any of you actually involved in more than 2 activities outside of the school? No? Are you guys involved in more than 2 activities outside of the classroom? At least 2. Like sports, music, art, any leadership,
Does it have to do like if it's
band, any activity.
it's like music, does it have to go into music classes or can be doing it at home?
You could both. Yes, both. Music can be an elective, but it could also become a hobby. It can become anything on the side. It could become something huge, right? You go to a concert or something. So it depends on what it is. So the reason why I ask is if you don't, go home today, get a paper, and make a list of everything you've been involved in since freshman year in high school. I promise you this is going to help you a lot. So you'll make a list of the title. So let's say I was a volunteer and I don't know, give me an example. Give me something. What have you done? So I can give you how to write it down.
Play music.
Play music. Okay, out of where? So these are things you're gonna have to put in the paper. So the reason why I asked is you're gonna put your title. So whatever your title was, intern, volunteer, treasurer, vice president, whatever you want to put is your title. Then you're gonna describe your role in about 2 or 3 sentences, what you did. Then you're gonna list your commitment. So how many weeks per year, how many hours per week, and when you did this involvement, like 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, that kind of structure. Once you have that list, you have maybe a running list of 6 or 7 items. That's awesome. Keep it going throughout 9th, all throughout your high school. You're gonna put that in your college application. So keep that running, and that's technically gonna become your what? Resume. So the resume becomes something, first of a list of stuff, and then it becomes your professional portfolio. No one can take that from you. That is your own personal accomplishment. So please start that now so you don't forget. And it's even the smallest thing. It could be beach cleanup, or cleaning the church, or going to this event that was like the workshop today. You can put that there. It's an activity outside of your classroom that helped you with college access. So we're pretty much a nonprofit, right? College access program. You can say you attended a CF workshop about college admissions and scholarships for 2 hours, and you can say if you were 10th grade, you can put that. You can even put CF member to make it all fancy. So remember, you can take advantage of a lot of things that CF can offer. Yeah.
Do you have any examples in mind that would benefit us going to college?
Well, I mean, activities are unique to you and your interests. So it has to really represent who you are. I can't give you recommendations for everyone to do, but it has to be unique to your interests. But I can guide you to where to start. So what was your grade? Your 10th grade. Okay. Have you been involved yet at all?
No.
Okay. I would start with ASB. You know what ASB is? Or I don't know if you have it in your high school. I don't know if they name it the same way. But it's the student body government of some sort, that they do like student council, or they have a vice president usually, or a president. Start with them. Ask them. Be like, where do you have the list of clubs that we have on campus? And then you can see what you like as far as being a member or being one of the leaders. So when I say being a leader, you're actually on the committee. Like you're the VP or the treasurer, or the secretary, or even the co-founder. You can make your own club. If you initiate another idea, find a way that is of passion to you, and then make maybe I had a guy who created a club at his high school to fundraise. It was a different fundraising events at his high school, but he took that money and he gave it to Egypt. So stuff like that, you can make your own. You don't have to be part of someone. You can make it yourself. That's for school related. Then there's also after school classes that you can take. I don't know, again, your high school has it, but I used to do it, which is called ROP. Have you known it? Okay. It's a after school program. You can take this class and you actually can do it for a whole term, and then you can get a certificate towards the end. It's like a class that you take. I did a medical assistant one, nurse assistant, so they're a pretty cool hands-on experience that you could get. My biggest thing for you is to go on your high school profile or high school website and see what activities they have and start from there. And then any partnerships they have with the district. Sometimes they even have it with your own center. They'll have like different workshops, different types of events for cleanup and whatnot. Yeah.
Sunday school teaching, or you can help as
Yes.
volunteer.
Yeah, but not too much of it. You don't want church to be all about your application. You want to balance it with academics and church or other.
Sandy, what do you see outside as far as the kids get involved? Like, I heard about some kids in a certain age, high school, they go like, hospitals,
Like volunteering at a hospital?
What else do you see as far as the same time? What the kids do?
I see a lot of volunteering at a hospital. I see mission trips, like they go out and do a bunch of stuff, yeah, with the diocese. A lot of Boy Scout, Girl Scout. Yeah, I'm trying to remember, because most of my knowledge comes from personal statements when I review them. So those are the biggest things. But again, for me as a counselor, I don't want to see the same story repeated again and again and again. The story, oh, my parents immigrated, it was so hard for me academically, and you know, I had a hard time with the language, and senior year came and I did an AP class and an honors class, and here I am and I have a 4.0. That story has been repeated so many times. And I appreciate the story, but you need to stand out, twist in any way possible to make it your unique to you. So remember, that story is being overplayed so many times, whether you're Egyptian or not. We need something else. We understand it. It's difficult to transition from going to, transitioning from Egypt schooling to an Egyptian or an American system here. I understand it's hard. But find ways to say that in a different light, where I understand you struggled academically, but I need more in-depth either experience or examples, or your way of thinking. Like a lot of students they just tell me, but they don't show me. So when I'm writing my personal statement, you're creating an image rather than just telling me a bunch of stuff. So you're creating a picture for me to understand who you really are as a person. If you journal, that's gonna help you a lot. That's good practice. Or if you voice memo, I don't know if you like, a lot of people have been doing that too. Instead of journaling, they'll start voice memos instead and have those like in their phone. So I'm going to transition into personal statement real quick before we get into each type of school. With personal statements, that's the biggest part of your application that's going to add value to you as an applicant. And so you're going to be writing about a lot of vulnerable stuff, things that maybe your parents don't know about you, or things that you just discovered about yourself. So this process is a bit overwhelming for a student sometimes, because they are writing about their own experiences and having a hard time with their emotions and how to express themselves. So if you already know that you have a hard time writing, you have solutions from now. You don't have to wait till last minute. You can start reading. You can start expanding your vocab. You can even watch stuff like TED Talks. You can listen to podcasts. You don't always have to read just books. You want to expand the way you're thinking and the way you are expressing yourself. So instead of watching a video of music tape or music video, right, of, I don't know, what's a good rapper right now? Drake. Instead of watching a Drake YouTube video, you can go and watch a TED Talk, or go and listen to a podcast instead. Maybe like 45 minutes every day. It doesn't have to be all day. But it gives you practice for your mind to think outside of the box rather than, you staying stagnant. That's one. Two, talk to people who are who are, I'm trying to get the word, when like they're at the same mindset as you. Meaning they have the same ambition, the same goals, they're driven to do better. When you're surrounded by people who want to do better, you become better. So I experienced that firsthand going to undergrad. When I was going to high school, I didn't really like high school because I was coming from Egypt. It was very hard to understand the culture and the people. There was a lot of cliques already happening. So going into it, I was already reserved, discouraged. I was not happy with the dynamic, and I was in Irvine, so you can only imagine the type of people that go there. So high school was a nightmare for me. But going to college, I was like, that is not going to be a repeat. I made that decision on my first day in class. I said, I'm going to surround myself with people who are going to make me better individuals. And here we are today. So please, please, if you are surrounded by friends who don't want the best for you, or tell you, oh, well, you can just do this and that, you'll be fine, or here's the easy way to do this to get this, why are you doing that? You can do better. You know you could do better. So please do that. You don't need to go with the flow either when it comes to college. I know I see a lot of students who say, oh, well, because she's going to UCI, I'm just going to go with her. No, that's not how that works. You have your own fit, your own college experience. Maybe UCI is not the school for you. It wouldn't work for you, maybe it works for her. I'm giving an example because I keep hearing that a lot. People either choose a college because their friend is going or a bunch of people are going, and it doesn't become unique to you. It might not be the experience for you. Sorry, I went on a tangent, but personal statements are going to be the biggest component of your application. The biggest things to know about are the prompts. So if you don't know what to write about yet, they have questions, and from there you can answer them in the requirements that they ask for. So for these, the ones that you see, those are the personal statements that they ask for the UCs. They have 8 of them. You only want to select 4, and you're writing about 350 words each. All right, I'm gonna skip through some of this stuff here because we talked about it already. All right, sweet. So we'll talk about the types of colleges. Did I lose anyone yet? Okay, almost, it's only been 40 minutes. We're still good. All right, so we have the public and privates, right? The first type is the Cal States. Those are the public. We have 23 campuses total. We have closest to you, you have Fresno State, Monterey Bay, maybe San Jose, but then you also have Bakersfield, which is close. So you have about 3 or 4 Cal States that are pretty close to you that you can commute to, versus the other ones you might have to live on campus. But the unique thing about the Cal States, their campuses are small enough for you to not be lost, right? They're still big in size, but you're not hopping or walking miles from one building to the other just to go to class. So that's the beauty of a CSU, at least. I went to Cal State Fullerton, that's why I'm saying that. But if you're going to UCLA, for example, it's a bit different. Has anyone went to UCLA? No? UCLA is really pretty, but it's huge. It's even, I don't want to say it's bigger than Disney, but it made me feel like I was in Disney because it was just one building is all the way over there. I have to walk all the way over there to go to the class or go to the department. And then just the population is a bit different too, depending on what city and all that. But every school is different, of course, as far as just, the student population. So with the Cal States, the requirements are unique. The GPA will always say 3.0 or higher, but of course right now that is just the minimum to even be looked at. So for the Cal States, to be honest, with what's going on right now, the reason why it's becoming very competitive because they eliminated the SAT and ACT. So what's happening is there was an influx of a lot of college applications 2020. They rejected a lot of them because they couldn't get in. They had too many applications. The students that got rejected either went to their plan B or went to their plan C, which is the community college. So now you have a lot of community college students going to community college that have been rejected from a 4-year college. With that being said, at a Cal State level right now, I would say a 3.6 or above, maybe even a 3.8. So if you don't have those numbers, I'm not trying to say don't apply, just know that it's going to be a very slim chance of getting in if you have anything below that. The reason why is because they don't have essays in their application process. So if, let's say your GPA is not as strong, and is there any other ways in the application, they won't really have a lot of room to give you more points because there's no essay. So they really emphasize the academics, which is going to be your GPA. So 3.8 is your safe side as far as Cal States or above. And then, like I said earlier, the SAT and ACT eliminated, so you do not have to submit those to the Cal States. The UCs, though, we have 9 of them. The ones closest to you, you have, oh, this is not it. That's not the image, the right image for it. The one closest to you would be Merced, I'm assuming. And Davis? No. Santa Barbara? Okay. So those 2 are going to be the closest to you. The reason why you have an advantage to get accepted to those is because of the set up geographic location. There's a pipeline and partnerships associated with where your high school. So sometimes they'll prefer to take someone from your high school that's like Monterey Bay or Santa Barbara will take from your high school versus someone in LA. So just remember that is an advantage that you have over other local students. Questions about the UCs? Okay. With the UCs, remember we have the GPA still. Yes, they always say 3.0, but again, that's the minimum to be eligible. For the UCs, I would say also 3.8 or above, but of course a 4.0 or above is always a safe zone for you. I've even seen people with a 4.2 and they still got rejected. So it's not based on the GPA, it's really based on what the application has to offer. And then they still said that the SAT and ACT was optional, so you have that as an optional requirement. And your extracurricular activities, that's going to be the most important part. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yes, so we have, she's saying how the SAT and ACT is optional, but I would still take it, just so you can submit it and show them that you went above and beyond. It's going to help give you an edge to the application. Extracurricular activities, that's the other big part of the UC application. And then your PIQs, which is the personal insight questions, also known as personal statements. Questions on that? So this is some data from 2019. And we have, I think, no, we don't. Okay. So this is from UCLA. If you look at the numbers, they had 111,000 applications, and then they admitted 13,756. Then they enrolled 5,900. From those who were admitted, half of them actually enrolled. Because what happened is, those who were admitted, obviously not all of them accepted their offer. They had other schools to accept. And then from those who accepted, they enrolled almost 6,000. You can also see the waitlisted. So some of you might get waitlisted, meaning you were eligible for admission. They liked you, but they don't have room for you. So they will wait until someone removes themselves to add you. Make sense? Yes.
So if you're on a wait list, is that just one off a waiting game?
Yeah, it's a waiting game, but it's actually a good thing because you're not completely rejected. So you still have, you might have a way of getting in, but it becomes annoying because you're waiting on them to make a decision, and by the time that happens, you're trying to already finalize your decision and your financial aid package and all that. So sometimes I have students who don't find out until last minute, and then they're like, I don't know what to do. So if you're waitlisted, it's a good thing, but it can be a bad thing. So it just depends on when they get back to you.
And it's still possible to not get admitted even if you're on the wait list, right?
Right, definitely. It's not a guarantee, no. Yeah, but it's a good thing still. And, well, no, I don't want to encourage that. And then you have UCI, which is another UC. This is the stats from 2019. They had less applications, 95,000. Admissions was 25,000. And then they received 6,420 deposits. So again, it's pretty small number that actually gets to be enrolled versus the ones that were admitted. And then you see the GPA on the right side there. The range was 4.0 to a 4.25. That's UCI. I think LA was a 4.1 to a 4.3. So it's anything above a 4.0, you're good to go. I'm going to skip this real quick. So the UC application is open. For those of you who just want to see it, you can open it just to get a sense of the questions that they ask or what the format is for the questions. The day to actually start submitting is not until November though, so you have a good time to submit your application. And then you'll not find out until March or April, but you will have to submit your fall grades by your last, like your fall term. So December is your last technically month. January you should submit your transcripts to them. And that's senior year, by the way. And then you get your admission notice by June, hopefully, if you're not waitlisted. And then again, you'll make your final decision by May. Make sense? All right. I don't know why is this so small. So we talked about the different types. I just want to emphasize the difference between a Cal State and a UC, because those are two different publics, right? But they're just completely different types of institution. When I go to a Cal State, you have smaller class sizes. Your professor-student ratio is small, meaning I'll have one professor and you maybe have 35 students compared to 100 students, right? So that's the Cal State. They have a smaller student-professor ratio. They tend to be more in the cities, in the actual city area versus like a more of, well, it's definitely more of a commuter, but forget I said that. They're definitely more in the city areas though. The UCs are bigger in size as far as the building and the population that they serve, but they also have a lot of research that's embedded in their curriculum. So you'll see in your syllabus or in your professor, they'll have some type of research included or research papers that they'll want to include because they're also practicing, they're doing research themselves at the institution as full-time faculty. So that's the biggest difference. And of course, if you do have siblings or friends that have gone to either, I would sit them down and just be like, hey, what was your experience like? Someone from a UC who maybe went to UCI, but someone else that went to UCLA, their experiences also are going to be different. So ask as many questions as you want, but to the right, of course, people who did well in college. If you have questions, we have ambassadors right now for CEF at not every, but most of the institutions. So if you say want to go to UCLA, I have ambassadors for you who already go to college. You can ask them a bunch of questions to get a sense of their experience. So if you do need that support, we have ambassadors at every college almost. Then you have your private institutions. Those are unique as well to the system. They'll require the application. Their GPA is not going to be a 3.0. It's just the minimum again. For the privates, depending on which private you're applying to, but the GPA does vary. The higher the better, of course, because they have a lot of students that apply that have just stellar GPAs. So the highest GPA I've seen so far is a 4.9. So it's pretty nice that people are able to do that. And then everything else is the same. The only thing that's different is the personal statement for the privates. Instead of writing 4 personal statements, you're writing 1, and that 1 is for 650 words instead of the 350 for the UCs. And then for their prompts, these are the prompts that they ask. You'll have to select 1, and it's going to be in 650 words. And if a school like USC is one of your schools that you're applying for, this would be a supplemental question that they ask. They'll say, hey, we have 3 questions for you. Pick one and answer it in 250 words. That's another supplemental question. The privates will have that added on to their application. Here's USC's profile. If you have, if you're curious to know what they do or what their stats are. So the acceptance rate is pretty low. 13%. They don't accept a lot of people. Okay, well, how did you do that?
Yeah. I don't know what's happened.
All right. We had a small little emergency. Okay. That's fine. No, a table actually fell on her leg, so it's okay. Okay. All right. Okay, our last one, I promise. We have our last type of school. What was it? Community college, the last type. Anybody can go to a community college. It's not a bad, that's not a bad thing. It just has open access to whoever wants to apply. Obviously, there are not a lot of extensive requirements, but as you see here, open admission. Once you are at a community college, though, you are expected to finish in 2 years. I wouldn't expect you to be there more than that. To be honest, there's no reason for you to be there more than 3 years. If you are there, you're doing your general education classes. Please know, at any school you go to Harvard, you go to UC, you go to Cal State, you go to community college, the first 2 years are going to be all general education classes. So you're not really doing a lot of major courses just yet, meaning you're going to have the same, almost not the same experience, but the same subject being studied at the school. A lot of people say, oh, if I go to community college, it's going to be really bad education compared to going to UCLA. That is so wrong. Actually, at the community college, they have people who are doctorates and have PhDs and are full-time staff, but are also part-time faculty. So they get paid way more, actually. If you think that the community college is bad, guess what? They get the most funding to support their students. So that means you'll have more programs to support you to get out of there. So I don't want you to think that the community college is bad because they take everyone. If anything, they give you more support to help you get out of there to go to a four-year college. So for the community college, you're doing 2 years general education classes, math, history, science, all that good stuff, and then you transfer out after 2 years. Once you do that, you go to a four-year college of your choice for 2 more years, and then you're done. So you have a total of 4 years total, which is the same route for any other school. At the end of the day, you're graduating from the institution that you want to go to. And some classes are going to be required as you go through the community college. If you're, let's say, going to a UC versus a Cal State, that can be discussed with your counselor once you're at the community college. They'll give you the right track to be on. Yeah.
Okay, I know there's schools like, say, law schools.
Yeah.
So instead of just going to UC, community college, you can go straight to that pathway. You guys help with that?
Yes. So are you saying the ones that are more accelerated?
Yeah, accelerated or not?
Oh, okay. Graduate school.
Just regular, like, she wants to go to Harvard, which is great.
Okay.
I actually don't. But what did you say?
The first school that came to mind.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, well, whatever. But, she wants to be a lawyer.
Okay.
So, I know, because I know my friends who became lawyers, they went through like a 5-year program.
Yeah.
There's one Whittier Law School.
Mhm.
I don't want that one I know for sure. I don't know if there's
There might be, I don't know a lot, but I can do research on it. That's the whole part of my job, is to do research on programs. But typically for a lawyer, you're really doing a total of 7 years. It's not a lot. You're doing your 4 years of bachelor's degree and then 3 years of law school. That's it. And then you do your bar exam.
like law school is like that accelerated to 5 to 6. You know, like they do also have that also for pharmacy.
They do have pharmacy. Yes, we have that, actually. Yeah.
So do you have anything like that for?
I don't know. I'll have to do research on it, to be honest. I don't want to give her false information. But,
Main goal is she wants to be an FBI agent.
oh, yeah?
Can't share this information.
No,
But you don't have to be a lawyer to do that.
she doesn't have to. That's what.
Yeah.
I don't really want to go to business school.
Okay. Well, you don't have to do business school. You could do any major you want in undergrad, and then your actual field would be in your terminal degree. So, for example, I could do bio for undergrad, but really become a lawyer. So what happens is, in undergrad, if I'm doing bio, but I know I want to be a lawyer, I just take the classes that are going to be required for me to go to law school, the prerequisites. They'll usually be 4 or 5 classes, and then That's it. You'll still have a bachelor's degree in bio with the classes they ask for, and then be eligible to apply. So any major can take you anywhere, really, but it definitely helps to have the background. So if you do want to become a lawyer or some type of agent, look into criminal justice as a major, or political science as a major, public administration as another major. Those are majors that you can deeply explore to prepare you. Even psychology can be a major for that type of field, because then you can have a psych background going into an FBI type of setting. It's unique to you and you can customize it. I see a lot of people now do psych and bio. So they do bio as their major and then minor in psych. So then use psychology to their advantage as far as being a physician. And we definitely need a lot of physicians that have that background. Yeah.
So what about combined programs?
So she's talking about the BA combined with an MA or an MS. Yes, those are accelerated programs. We do have a couple for the pharmacy if you're looking to do that route. But to be honest, like the ones that are accelerated, there's not a lot of them. And if there are going to be, in existence, I don't know a lot about the financial aspect of it. So I don't know if like FAFSA would cover it. If it does, then great. But if not, you would have to pay out of pocket. And then sometimes they're private. They're not going to be part of like a public institution either. So remember, everything has its advantages and disadvantage, and traditional route versus non-traditional route. But if you care about time, honestly, medical school is probably your longest one, because that's going to have, depending on the specialization that you want to do, and then residency and all that. So that takes the longest I've seen so far. But again, if it's something that you don't like doing, don't go for it for 11 years of it. I was about to be a doctor, and I changed my mind in undergrad after taking bio for 2 years. So I wasn't completely convinced, because my parents wanted me to do it. So I did my own research about it. I found out that I can't do it. I cannot put that much money into something that I'm not completely convinced. It was a good idea, but it wasn't what I liked. So keep that in mind. This program I wanted to talk about real quick. It's at a community college. So let's say you got rejected from UCI on your first time applying as a first-year freshman. You go to a community college then for 2 years, and then you become part of the TAG program. The TAG program is established at a community college. They partnered with different UCs, UC Santa Barbara, Merced, I believe. Here, I can go here. Davis, Irvine, Merced, Riverside, Santa Barbara, and Santa Cruz. So you actually, some of them are close to you. With that, you're able to get guaranteed admission into the school. So how many of you were exploring the community college as an option? No one wants to go to community college? Okay. So if you do want to go to community college, this is the perfect way to get into the UCs without doing anything. If you really wanted to, you don't have to worry about the essay part, you don't have to worry about the exams, nothing. You'll just go through the community college route, do very well, be part of the TAG program, and then get guaranteed admission into the school of choice, and then graduate from the UC that you want to graduate from. At the end of the day, it's where you are leaving from. It's not where you're entering. So if I am a graduate today at UCLA, you would never know where I came, how I came, right? I just graduated from UCLA. So remember, that's something that matters too as far as your end result. So I like TAG because it helps a lot of students get in that way. Okay, match versus fit, just want to talk about that because that's probably the most important slide on today's presentation. Think about when you're looking at your college list. Yeah, I have questions, yeah. So your second year at the community college, you would want to have the conversation with your counselor the first year, just to be like, hey, I'm interested, but you don't become a member until your second year. And you do have to have a certain GPA. I believe it's a 3.5, but it could vary based on the school, sometimes even a 3.7. But you have to keep that GPA to be still eligible for a TAG. Once you're at 60 units, right, since you're going to transfer, that second year you'll apply, and then because you're part of TAG, they'll notice that somewhere in the system, then you'll be guaranteed admission into that school. So how about this? And before I ask the question, how many of you know where you want to apply? You have maybe like a solid 5. Okay, anyone else? Wow, so all of you don't know where you want to go yet? Yes, oh, you know? Okay. So this is great. You can go home today, now that you know we have the UCs, the Cal States, the privates, the privates, which have Ivy Leagues too, and then you have the community college. You have 4 different types to choose from. Go home, make a list under those different types. Let's say I want to apply to 4 UCs, 2 Cal States, and maybe 2 community college. Have a list, and then go to something called College Scorecard. It's a website, and type in your school. And make the list with all the stats, right? All the things that the school wants from you as far as what their averages are, where they're located, their acceptance rates, whatnot. Then you can figure out, okay, I have a good 10 on my list. Great. Your next thing to do is what? We talked about this the very first thing we did. What is the next thing to do after you have your list of schools? One thing you're going to do. You're going to go to the school. You're going to go pay them a visit. You'll want to tour a campus of some sort. You want to go see if you actually belong there. You know, as a student, do you see yourself going there for college the next 4 or 5 years? So that is going to be your biggest indicator if you want to go there or not, because there's a lot of things that come with that. Once you go to the school, you'll see the weather, you'll see the location, you'll see the the safety, you will see the security, you will see the student population, how big it is, right? Those are all going to be factors that are going to give you, it's like dating. Think about it that way. I'm on a date. These are the things that I want for a guy, right? So I'm going to make sure these are the things that I want. Same thing, you're going to the school, these are the things that I'm looking for in my college. If I'm satisfied, keep it on your list. If I'm not satisfied, cross it off. The next one. That way, you are not applying for a school that you don't even want to go to. It's going to be a waste of time. So think about it that way, like dating. All right, we're almost there. Okay. I'm done with the admissions part. It's about an hour now and 7 minutes. Any questions on admissions? Because then I'm going to give you a break and we're going to go into financial aid and scholarships. So what is your assignment today? Come on, 1 assignment. Actually 2. There was 2 of them, yes. Figure out where you're going to go. Make a list of schools, UCs, Cal State, and it doesn't have to be a realistic option. It could be Harvard. It could be anywhere that you personally want to go, right? Something you saw in the movie. If you want to go there, go. But put it on your list. That way you make a visit out of it with your sibling or your parents or whatnot. Great. What was the second assignment? The resume. Please make your resume. It doesn't have to be a professional one. Again, just make a list of the things that you're involved in. Yeah?
What if we don't know, like, if we participate in something, if that's going to count towards our resume?
Put it. I promise you, everything counts. Put it, because you never know what that looks like on your application. And then, of course, we can review it with you. Not a problem. So, any other questions before I start the financial aid aspect? Okay. There's going to be a lot of numbers thrown at you. I apologize in advance. It's just going to be either tuition costs or FAFSA stuff. A lot of this will cost you. Obviously, every type of institution has a price tag. You are going to, as a student, you will make that decision. Do I want to go there or not based on 2 things. Can I afford it? And did I get financial aid? Those are the 2 things that you want to make sure you are aware of going into that school, because you can be so excited about the school, but you can't afford it, and you didn't get the financial aid, and then guess what? You don't have enough money to go there. So the 4 different types, as we said, there's the 4 different price tags. So your tuition and fees are your first row, right? Can you see from here? I don't know if I just like completely. So the first row is the most important one. That's the one that you really want to pay attention to. The rest of them are going to be up to you and your budget. So if I'm going to my first year in college and I'm going to have lunch with my friends every day, that's an expense. That's going to add on to your budget. If I want to commute to campus every day, that's going to put money in my gas expenses and maybe other mileage issues. So that it goes back to your budget. But to be quite frank, you really have to pay attention to the first row, unless you are going to be living on campus. That's a completely different budget. How many of you are going to live on campus? You're not staying with your parents. You're living on campus because it's too far. It's okay to say yes, guys. I don't know why you're scared. There's nothing wrong with living on campus. I'm going to make sure my kids live on campus. So if you don't want to live on campus, you'll have to make sure that you can commute. It's a reasonable commute. Honestly, I do not recommend anything more than 30 minutes. If you're going to commute more than that, that just takes away from your... Just don't do it. Honestly, it takes away from your peace. You know, if there's traffic, if you're going to be running late to class, parking is always going to be an issue. If you don't get there on the right time or during the right time, I struggled with parking all the time. It was like Hunger Games. I remember I would I would drive into the parking structure. As soon as I see someone coming in, I go with my car to them. I'm like, you come in my car. I got you. I'm going to take you to your car. That was how annoying it was. I couldn't find a parking spot. So I'm just giving you an example because it can be stressful as a student that's commuting from wherever they are, let's say more than 45 minutes, trying to find a parking spot, and then trying to find where the class is on your first day or whatever, on a regular day. It can get annoying. So that could be a reason for you to know, I want to live on campus. Or another reason, you can be a commuter student, sure, but then you only end up going to class and just going back home. You're not really taking advantage of the resources on campus. Therefore, it's going to be a bunch of academics that you're doing and you're not going to be involved as much. So I would love for you, if you're living on campus, to take advantage of being part of meetings, going to clubs, not like organizations on campus. What else? Volunteering or working on campus, that will help too. That gets you engaged on campus, and you're not just living on campus, you're actually doing something with your time. I remember when I lived on campus only like one summer, because again, I had the same problem with my parents, I can't live on campus, but the commute was only 30 minutes, so it wasn't that problem. But if I lived more than that, it would have become a bigger issue. As far as living on campus, I remember I would start school, 7 o'clock in the morning. I wouldn't go back to my dorm until 10 p.m. because there was so much stuff that was happening. Whether I had a study group, I had a class, I was working on campus, those kind of things come up all the time. Sorry, I went off on a tangent again. But what I'm trying to say is you come up with your budget when you're going to college. A lot of your expenses are covered by either financial aid, FAFSA, or any scholarships given to you by the school or any other scholarships that you applied for. So the most expensive will be privates, $35,000 to $72,000. The UCs will be a little bit less, $14,000 to $16,000. The Cal States will be about $6,600 to $8,000, and this is also yearly, by the way, so every year. And the community college will be about $1,100 to $1,400 a year. So you can see the prices are a huge difference. So the community college is the cheapest one. Keep in mind, if you're going to any community college, you should not be paying for anything. The community college, they have a lot of promised grants. They have a bunch of funding. You do not need to pay for that. So if you are considered low income, you will never be able to have to pay for, honestly, anything. If you are low income, I'm just telling you now, you're not gonna have to pay for anything. So keep that in mind when you're applying to FAFSA, because they give you a lot of money If you're low income and you're not going to end up paying anything out of pocket, maybe like a $500 or $1,000. That's if you're not low income. Yes.
Is it only applied like community colleges or
Any. Financial aid covers any institution. Yes. So we'll talk about the different types right now. So you have the need-based and the merit-based. Your need-based is going to be determined based on your income and your household size. So when they give you money, they're going to say, okay, how much money do you make per year? And how many people are living in your household? That number, those two numbers are going to be evaluated to give you FAFSA. Now, FAFSA, what does FAFSA do? FAFSA gives you scholarships, grants, loans, and work study. They say, okay, we want to give you this, awesome, but how are we going to evaluate it? Well, we got to tell us where you're going. So in the FAFSA application, they'll ask you, where are you going to go to school? You will put the list of schools that you're applying for, and then FAFSA, or whoever's going to process your application, will take in two things: where you're going, and then your income and your household size. Once they do that, they'll generate something called your financial need. What does that look like? How much are they going to need to support you? Once you apply to FAFSA, the last page will give you like a report. Thank you for applying. Here's the application, report, summary. And then there'll be a number that says EFC, Estimated Family Contribution. What does that number mean? That means whatever that number equals to is whatever you're going to pay out of pocket. A lot of times, if you're low income, that number is between 0 to 1. That's a very small number, meaning you will get pretty much 95% covered of your tuition. If it says $2,000 or $5,000, that just means that's the number you're going to pay out of pocket from the tuition difference. So they'll give you $11,000 towards your $14,000 tuition, but you'll have $3,000 left to cover. It could be it too, depending on your income. But in most cases, I've seen a bunch of families get more than what is actually expected. So meaning, let's say you all applied to UC Merced, and they're gonna tell you it's gonna cost you $14,000 to come to UC Merced, but FAFSA gave you $15,000. So you now have extra $1,000, right? You get that as a check. You get as a payable check to you, to your house, mailed, and you use that towards your college expenses. So again, when you're applying to FAFSA, it's like an umbrella, right? The application covers many different types of funding. They take your info and then assess what kind they will give you. Yes?
Not accepted in FAFSA based on your academics or...
Academics. No academics. It's only income and household size. Yeah, she asked the question, is FAFSA gonna look at your grades? No, it's nothing. It's not academic based. That's why it's need based. Meaning I'm only gonna look to see if you are financially in need, nothing with academics. Sometimes scholarships are reviewed based on academics. Now, FAFSA, sometimes in the package, through the university, they'll give you a scholarship. That's also not academic. It's just, they wanted to give it to you. But many scholarships are gonna be based on merit. So under the FAFSA umbrella, you have your loans, your grants, work study, and scholarships. The one that's not free, that you have to pay back, are going to be your loans, right? Grants and your scholarships and your work study, all three of those are free. You take them and you don't have to pay them back. A lot of the students will get majority in grants, maybe some scholarships, and then maybe some work study. And I'll talk about work study in a bit. And then they'll get some loans. You don't have to accept any loan. If you don't want to take it out, don't take it out. I'd rather you pay out of pocket instead of taking out a loan. Now, when you take out a loan, there's two types of loans. You have unsubsidized and subsidized. I think it's on the next one. So the subsidized it's gonna be with no interest. So if I give you $1,000 today, it should stay $1,000 by the end of my 4 years graduating. But if I take the unsubsidized and it's $1,000 loan, it become $1,200. It can become $1,500 because there's interest now. So those types of loans, stay away from them. I would just stay away from loans, period. But if you really have to take out a loan, take the one that does not have interest, which is the subsidized. When I went to college, I did not pay for anything. Undergrad, I did not pay for anything for all 4 years, except for 1 year. They didn't give me enough, so it was like, I think, $2,000. So I ended up taking a subsidized loan for $2,000. It didn't move because it was subsidized, so it maintained that balance until I graduated. So it depends on your situation. Now, housing is not going to be included. So if the student is going to live on campus, FAFSA will not cover that. You will have to figure out how to pay for that, or if they got a scholarship to cover for that, great. Yeah.
Does also FAFSA applies for the universities, like after the 4-year college?
Yeah, so you apply for FAFSA senior year, October, which already opened, and then every year again, October, until you graduate. Yeah, so it's an endless process actually until you're done with your whole degree. So if you're going to graduate program, you're also applying to FAFSA. Great question. So for the loans, there's the subsidized and unsubsidized. In grad school,
Sandy, so number one, do they have the option to choose between the two types of
loans, yeah, they'll list it in their financial aid package. So each student, once they apply for FAFSA, in the FAFSA application, they'll say, which schools are you applying for? Okay, they put all 10 of them. FAFSA will send that information to all the schools. The school will then generate something called the financial aid package to each student, whether they got accepted or not. They'll just get a package. Then the student will say, and I'll show you a sample in a bit. The student will say, okay, I have all these things that I got. I got a grant, I got loans, I got a scholarship, I got a work study. His question was, can we determine which loan we want? Yes, you can select which loan you want to accept or reject. You don't even have to take any loans out. You can reject both of them. Let me show you a sample so we can just kind of go over that real quick. Okay, so this is a sample, USC, I believe. So USC costs about $72,000. That's with housing, room and board. So tuition and board is $72,000. And the estimated family or expected family contribution was $2,200. So they're saying, based on your income, we think that you're going to pay $2,200 out of your pocket. Well, let's see what the student got. So in orange, their package is pretty much covering their tuition. It's at $70,000. So let's see what that $70,000 encompasses. They got 3 different types of grants. They got a Pell Grant for $4,500. They got a state grant for $9,000, and they got a scholarship from the school for $50,000. So this student got a full ride, pretty much. But what is a full ride? Everything is paid for. Like their tuition is paid for. So you see here, the blue items, they all add up to almost 70K. The 2 in red are loans. So you have your subsidized and unsubsidized. One is for $2,500 and one is for $4,500. You don't have to take those, but if you need them for housing, then you can take those out.
Okay, another question. You said that they will apply every year?
Yes, every year. October 1st.
So even if they're in the second year of the course or the third year of the course, they need to
Every year, yeah. Their application package will readjust every year based on your income of 2 years prior. So FAFSA uses your taxes from 2 years prior. So the senior, if you're applying this year for fall 2022, your taxes are going to be from 2020. So your parents are going to submit their tax return, and you will submit your tax return from 2020. It's always 2 years prior. They evaluate your financial need based on the 2 years prior. Yeah. What programs? Pell Grants. Yes, they're all part of the umbrella. Good question. So Cal grants, though, if you're applying for a Cal State, there's a Cal grant application. Ask your counselor, and you just have to send, it's a one-pager to verify that you're a California resident. That way you can get a Cal grant. So ask for that from your counselor. But, so the FAFSA application has opened. If you're a senior, you are a senior, I keep saying you're a senior. For the seniors, they got $150 billion added to the FAFSA funds this year. So please apply as soon as you can, because it's like a bucket of money, the first come, first serve type of thing. So the faster you apply, the more money you'll get. And that's for any year, but this year specifically, they added $150 billion to the, funding. Yeah.
You can apply to classify if you're not a senior.
No, good question. So it starts senior year, October 1st. Yeah. You're like already want to get on top of everything. So for citizens, for U.S. citizens and permanent residents, you are able to apply for FAFSA. If you're not, then there's something called California DREAM Act. It's another type of application. It's similar to FAFSA. The format is even the same. It's just it's a different type of resource because, it goes to a different department. So you have FAFSA for U.S. citizens and permanent residents, and then California DREAM Act for undocumented students. For FAFSA, you just need to make sure you have a valid social, obviously a high school diploma. For the males, they used to have them register with the selective service system. I think they're going to discontinue that, so that's been removed. And then what do you need to apply? What you need to apply? Your parent. You'll need your parent with you, 100%, because they will have all the information about your taxes from 2020 or whatever year you're applying for. Their social security, they might ask questions about assets if it pertains to you. And then, of course, signing the form at the end. Your parent will sign it based on the username and password that they create, and then you would sign it with them. So both of you sign it since you're technically a minor. And then you have the DREAM Act, same thing. It's a different website though, californiadreamact.org. And for those of you who don't know about it, you should know based on being a DACA student. But it is equivalent to the FAFSA application, just different platform. So again, it opened up October 1st, and deadline is March 2nd, but actually there's no deadline. You can apply whenever, it's just first come, first serve. Yeah.
And for FAFSA, do you include the whole family income or just family?
Good question. I'm going to repeat it. Do you include your whole family income or your parents? Is that your question? So in the application, they'll ask, what is your household income based on taxes? So in the taxes, if your parents said, head of household or married filed jointly, that's what they're going to put, and then they're going to put whatever income. Because on the FAFSA application, the sweet thing about it is you can link your IRS. You don't have to actually put anything. They have this thing where if you filed it electronically, which you should have already, it says link to IRS, click on it, and then you sign in, and it links all your taxes to your application. So it does it for you, technically. But it copies it from the taxes. Yeah, speaking of that, I have never submitted an application that fast in my whole entire career. I did it for my brother last week. It took me less than 10 minutes. I've never submitted a FAFSA application that quickly. So they did that link to IRS so they can do it, and that way it helps a lot of students. All right, so scholarship opportunities. This is another process. Yes, it's embedded in the FAFSA application sometimes, depending on the school, but there are also other scholarships that are external than from the FAFSA application that you can apply for. For example, has anyone, I'm sure you all know who Bill Gates is. Bill Gates has a scholarship. He made one, and he said, obviously his application is pretty extensive, but if you would get that scholarship, you would have all your education paid for, from college to graduate school. So that's a scholarship outside of the school that you would get, can apply towards your tuition and more. Another one would be Coca-Cola. They have another one. Edison has another one. Questbridge is another place to be. The school itself will have their own scholarship. So if you want to go to Harvard, go to Harvard's scholarship webpage and see what you can apply for. The UCs have their own. So it's another process for you to look into. I know it's extensive, but if you are a junior right now, not only do you want to create your college list, but you also want to create your scholarship list, because it's a completely different process. Based on the eligibility requirements. So every scholarship has its own list of eligibility requirements, meaning they'll say you need to be a US citizen, you need to be at 3.5 GPA, you need to be at least in maybe this kind of background. So every scholarship has its own requirements. They have to kind of go through it and decide what works for them. We have our own list. I created a long time ago. It has a bunch of scholarships that they can search for and see if they're eligible for. If you email me, I can send that to you. It's just a scholarship list of a bunch of them listed in one page. And they're hyperlinked, so you go straight to the web page.
Can you apply to two different scholarships?
Oh, you can apply to like 100 if you want. Yeah, I've had a student who got, I don't know how many scholarships. She had everything paid for. She's like, I'm not paying a cent. So she applied for so many scholarships and she had FAFSA. But a lot of students, that's the thing. If you don't if you don't get anything from FAFSA because you're not low income, that becomes really hard, because now you're not low income. You didn't get any grants, and you're a really good student. So then your next thing is scholarships. Scholarships can give you a full ride as well. I've been on a couple of committees where they've given students a full ride because of their academics only. So it's nice to have the option if you don't get FAFSA. Speaking of that, we have our own scholarship. CEF has our own. I was just talking to you guys about it in the beginning, but every year we give 20 scholarships across the diocese. We don't have specific churches, it's depending who applies, of course. Some church will have 4 that we give to, some will have 1, some will have 0. It just depends on the pool of applicants. So remember that. With that, we look at your personal statement. There's 2 personal statements that we ask, 2 questions specifically. One that pertains to what did you learn, something that you learned and had that affected you, right, from an accomplishment that you had. And another personal statement that asks about your extracurricular involvement and again, tell us about a unique experience that you had. So we ask for 2 personal statements. We look for a resume. That's why I asked for you to get that done now before it's too late. So a resume. We look at your GPA. That's huge. GPA is highly scored right now. And then SAT and ACT, we still look at it, but it's, small points are generated to that. And then admissions letter. Since it's not going to be due till May, you have time to send in or submit your admission letter from the school. So we have to make sure that you're admitted before we can continue with your application. If you have everything, then we'll consider you for the scholarship. You get $1,000 towards your expenses. It's a check that you get. And then we come to the church to present to you in front of the congregation and show off your accomplishments. So that's the Merit Achievement Scholarship. These are just steps to know. It's the last slide here for when you're applying for FAFSA. So obviously you're going to use the FAFSA.ed.gov. Make sure that's the right one. I was telling you about the Cal Grant number 3. Apply for a Cal Grant right there. And so typically, like we said, you will apply, then you'll get some type of summary when you apply, like a report. And then you'll wait maybe 2 or 3, depending on when you apply. So if you applied in October, you won't hear until January or February, maybe even March. After that, you'll get a financial package from the school, and then you'll make your decision by May where you're going and then what application or what financial aid you're going to accept. So they all come at the same time, your financial aid package and your admission. So just remember, we're here to help you through that process, whether to find the right college, to write your personal statement, or to review your resume. Please let us know how we can support you. I'll put my info on the board here. There's Catherine, Hannah, and myself. This is our email. I also have my Coptic EDU email on my business cards, so you can use that as well. And if you have personal statements that you're working on right now, I would send them to us soon so we can review and give you the right feedback. We have enough time. Questions? Yeah.
How can we access this slideshow?
If you email me, I can send it to you. Yeah. We don't like to give it out. Well, only if those who ask for it.
I can ask for it and I can dispense it for the kids if you want.
Yeah, I'll send it as a PDF, that's fine. And the scholarship list, you can also let me know. Just email me and I can send them to you. Any other questions while I'm here? Yeah. Yeah, I'll send it to him and then you guys, actually I'll even show it to you since we have Wi-Fi. Do I get commission? Yeah. The UCs? Wait, I can't hear you guys. One sec. Everybody charges per unit. Right. Right. So FAFSA terminology, if she's a FAFSA student, she's a full-time student, they have a certain number that they exceed. So if she's a full-time student, it means she's at 12 units or more. That's full-time. If she's part-time, 6 units or less, 9 units or less. So once she's full-time, the tuition will not change, the Cal State wise. I don't know about the UCs, but the Cal State won't change. So it's at 38,000, stays at 38,000. If she takes 21 units or takes 17 units, it stays at 38. So the tuition itself will not change if she's taking 12 units or 17 units. Does that make sense?
It means they will not charge per unit. You know, the community college is charged per unit. For example, $45 per unit. I don't know how much.
Yes, the community college, yeah. But
It's not that simple.
it's not simple, so I don't want to give you back false information. What we can do, if you have a financial aid package, send it to me, and I can analyze it for you and let you know, okay, how much she needs to take. But if she wants to be enrolled in 17 units, she can. It goes back to how much you can afford, how much the financial aid can give her. If you want to take out from the loans, you can, but it's going to be up to you at the end of the day if she wants to take more than 12 units or not. But yes, you are paying per unit. Technically, you'll be adjusting your financial aid package to be more than a full, well, you are going to be considered full-time no matter what. If it's 15 or 17 or 18 even, you're still considered full-time, so the money shouldn't change. It's about adjusting her balance, but I don't think she should pay more than that. But we can look into it, and I can see what specifically their policies are for their financial aid. Is she UC or Cal State? Where is she going? Riverside. Okay, so I can look into your Riverside's financial aid tuition and see what that looks like, because I argued with someone before and I ended up being wrong. So that's why I'm going to make sure I don't give you false information. Yeah. So UCR, I'll look into it for you. Okay, let me just show you the scholarship real quick, if I can find it. You know what? We can go to. Okay, so this is the scholarship list. When you go to any of these, it's hyperlinked. So for example, you can go to, and it's categorized too. So if you see here, this is for any high school senior, This is for women specifically. This is for undocumented students. This is for STEM people who are looking into the medical field or other medical math-related fields. And then you have for athletes, community college students, for transfer students, and then all the other search engines that are just like general search engines. You can go and see what scholarships are listed. So they're hyperlinked. So for example, if I'm trying to go to the Gates Scholarship, you can go straight to it. Same thing with, let's say you want to look into Coca-Cola. You can click on it, and then it takes you there. So this will be a very helpful resource to have to start your search. And from there, you can see if you're eligible for that scholarship. Yeah?
It says scholarships 2020. Does it differ from year to year?
It does. No, the website will not change. It's just we need to change that, yes. But the website will be up to date, and then you can check to see, okay, so this is a Coca-Cola, for example. You see how it shows you a brief description of what they are. Wow, they have a lot of support. They have 75 million in their funding. So see how it says high school seniors apply here. Application will open up until October 31st. So they have a deadline October 31st. Typically, a lot of the scholarships are due the summer before you start senior year, and they go all the way till maybe sometimes May or June. So your scholarship timeline actually starts before college applications, depending on the scholarship, of course. So see here how it says the view eligibility requirements. You'll click on there. As a high school student, I'm going to see, okay, does this apply to me? Well, let's see. Current high school, okay. Attending in the U.S., okay, great. U.S. citizen, okay, or a permanent resident, great. Expecting to receive a high school diploma during current academic year, yeah, if I was a high school senior. Planning to pursue a degree at an accredited U.S., yes, I should be if I'm going to the schools that I talked about. And then able to verify a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. Okay, awesome. So looks like I'm eligible to apply. Then this can be on your list. Obviously, students who apply to this specific scholarship are going to have pretty high GPAs. So if you're one of them, I would look into it. If not, don't bother. Don't waste your time. And to be honest, with scholarships like this, any of the ones that are on this list, depending on how competitive they are, you don't want anything above or anything below a 4.0. Yeah.
So what if you apply for a scholarship like the summer before your senior year as a 4.0 GPA? And during your senior year, this GPA,
Yep.
what is going to
Part of the application process, they might ask for a transcript again, and if they see that, they might not give it to you. Yes, you can't really go away with that. That's a good question. Even with admission, I've seen people getting rejected from Berkeley because they did pretty bad in their last term, knowing that they got in, but then they got rejected. So it doesn't really help. Yeah.
So can ninth grader or 10th grader apply for the scholarship, or it's only like senior?
Only seniors, but recommended the summer before senior year.
But here, like it says that the deadline is October 31st.
So the summer before.
Okay.
So if I'm going to be a senior, let's say it's going to be August, I'm going to be a senior. September, I'm going to become a senior. So that summer, that's when they start.
But we cannot apply the scholarship before this.
No, but if each scholarship's hit.
Because the requirement here say that eligible, like high schooler student is eligible. So does this mean that ninth grader can apply for this?
No. Yeah, only high school seniors. Yes. And if you look at the requirements, it says current high school, student attending high school, yes, but of course they have to be high school senior. Yeah. I'm looking at UCR's financial aid real quick. Any other questions? Okay. Well, you have my information. If you have any questions, email me. And if I don't know, I'll either research it or connect you to Sharif to help you. But this is an example of me looking up tuition for her daughter here. So it looks like they have tuition fees set, $15,000, definitely with parents. Okay, so I went to the financial aid over here. Cost of attending Riverside. And I looked at the tuition and fees. See how the first one says $15,510 across the board. So that's how much tuition is going to cost per year. Now, if you're looking at financial aid purposes, there's some fees associated with that. The undergraduate fee. There is a new freshman only fee. Some other type of fee. So that adds on, sure. But then if you're looking at financial aid, right here, it says half-time student is 6 to 8.5 units. Quarter time is about 9 to 11. So she's at 12 units full time. She should be fine, and that means right here it says you must be to each quarter to receive the full amount. So for her to receive her full amount of aid from FAFSA, she's gonna need to be in 12 units. I don't think she's gonna pay extra if she's enrolled in 17 or more. So her tuition doesn't change.
If I got 12 units, the money I pay, for example, forget about interest, I gotta pay my full money.
Yeah.
If we pay 12 units, it's the same money paid as a 15 unit as a 17.
الفافسا لا انتي هتباي per unit بس فافسا مش هيدوكي اكتر. Yeah. هيدوكي بس whatever they gave you اللي هي let's say 13,000 whatever, and your tuition is 15. هم قالوا 15,000 your tuition. So not only you're going to pay بقى 2,000, you're going to pay an additional more عشان she's taking more classes. Yeah, so they're never going to give you more money because of more units, unfortunately. That's why we recommend 15, 15, 15, 15. So it's a total of 60 units, 15 per term.
Yeah, 60.
15, yeah, per semester. It's semester system. So it's 15, which is 5 classes, because if it's 3 units a class, so it's 15, 15, 30 for 1 year, and 30 for another year. So it's 60 total. I mean, if she wants to take 17, sure, but
Actually, I don't remember how much she changed stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I remember taking 18 units, that's fine, but you just remember it's not covered. Yeah. Awesome. All right, well, I am pretty much done. I was just helping her with her question. If you have any questions, I'll be here. But please make sure you do those 2 assignments, the resume and your college list. And love to see that you went to the college before I see you again. Okay? Cool? Yeah?
ابونا مشي من الكنيسه، بس احنا باسم شعب الكنيسه بنشكركم، وان شاء الله الايميل بتاعك هيبقى معاهم كلهم، فلو في اي اسئله او حاجه هيبعتوها لك.